My sister spread lies that I cheated on my fiancé to ruin my wedding. I recorded her confession and played it at the reception. That was 2 months ago. Today, she's begging for forgiveness while our family takes my side. So picture this. I'm sitting here on my couch with a Diet Coke in hand, still kind of blown away by how everything went down. 2 months ago, I thought my wedding was going to be totally ruined by my own flesh and blood. Now I'm married to the love of my life, and my sister is basically persona non grata with the whole family. Wild how karma works, right? Let me back up and tell you this whole crazy story from the beginning, because honestly, it's like something straight out of a Lifetime movie. My sister and I have always had this weird competitive thing going on. She's 3 years older than me, and for real, she's always acted like everything I did was somehow taking something away from her. When I got into state on a partial scholarship, she threw a fit about how I was the favorite. When I landed my first real job at a marketing firm downtown, she made these passive-aggressive comments about how some people just get lucky. You know the type, always gotta make it about her. But things really went sideways when I got engaged to my now husband last year. We'd been dating for 4 years, living together for 2, and honestly, we just clicked from day one. He proposed on the beach during our vacation to Florida. Nothing too fancy, just us, some Corona beers, and the sunset. Perfect for us, you know? My sister's reaction when we announced it? She literally said, "Wow, that was fast," with this fake smile plastered on her face. Mind you, she'd been with her boyfriend for like 6 months at that point and was already dropping hints about wanting to get engaged. The whole family could see she was jealous as heck, but we all just kind of ignored it and hoped she'd get over it. Boy, were we wrong. Wedding planning was stressful enough without having to deal with her drama. She kept making these little digs about our choices. The venue was too expensive, the dress was too simple, the guest list was too big. Nothing was ever good enough for Princess Perfect. But I figured, whatever, it's my day, and I'm not gonna let her negativity bring me down. The real trouble started about 6 weeks before the wedding. I noticed some of our mutual friends were acting weird around me, like they'd get all quiet when I walked up, or they'd give me these sympathetic looks that made no sense. At first, I thought maybe they were stressed about their own stuff, but then my maid of honor pulled me aside. "Girl, I gotta ask you something, and please don't get mad," she said, looking all uncomfortable. "Is everything okay with you and him? Like, are you guys solid?" I was totally confused. "Yeah, we're great." "Why would you even ask that?" She got this look on her face like she'd rather be anywhere else. "Because your sister has been telling people some pretty heavy stuff about you." My heart literally dropped into my stomach. What kind of stuff? Turns out, my dear sister had been spreading rumors that I'd been cheating on my fiancé with some guy from work. She was telling people I was only getting married because I felt guilty, and that she was worried about my poor fiancé marrying someone who wasn't faithful. She even had this whole elaborate story about how she'd seen me with this mystery man at some restaurant downtown. I was absolutely livid, like seeing red mad. This wasn't just sibling rivalry anymore. This was straight up sabotage of my relationship and my reputation. The worst part? Some people were actually believing her because she was playing the concerned sister card so well. Update. Guys, I'm literally shaking while typing this next part. The confrontation with my sister was about to happen, and I had no idea it would lead to the most satisfying moment of my entire life. Should I have handled it differently? You'll see why I'm asking in a minute. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew she'd just deny everything if I went in guns blazing. So I came up with a plan that was probably a little sneaky, but honestly, she deserved it. I called her up and asked if she wanted to grab coffee to talk about some concerns I'd been hearing. I picked this little cafe that was usually pretty quiet, and I made sure to sit in a corner booth where we'd have some privacy. Before she got there, I started recording on my phone, just voice memo, nothing fancy, and kept it running in my purse. She walked in looking all innocent, gave me a hug, and ordered her usual vanilla latte with extra foam. We made small talk for a few minutes about work and the weather, and then I went for it. "So I've been hearing some weird rumors about me cheating on my fiancé," I said, watching her face carefully. "You haven't heard anything like that, have you?" Her eyes got all wide and she put on this Oscar-worthy performance. "Oh my gosh, really? That's terrible. Who would say something like that?" I played dumb for a bit, asking her what she thought about the whole situation, and she kept up the act. But then I decided to push a little harder. The thing is, apparently someone close to me has been spreading these stories. Someone who supposedly saw me with another guy. I leaned forward. I'm trying to figure out who would do something like that to me. And that's when she cracked. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was the opportunity to finally be honest about her feelings, but she just let it all out. "Look, I didn't mean for it to get this big," she started, and my heart started pounding because I knew I was getting it all on tape. "I was just talking to a few people about how worried I was about you rushing into marriage." "Worried about what exactly?" She took a deep breath and then basically confessed everything. How she'd made up the cheating story because she thought I was making a mistake. How she'd been telling people she'd seen me with someone because she wanted them to question whether I was ready for marriage. How she thought if enough people had doubts, maybe I'd slow down and really think about what I was doing. "I just think you're settling," she said, tears starting to form in her eyes. "And I didn't want to see you make a huge mistake." But then she said the thing that really got me fired up. "Besides, you've always gotten everything so easily. Maybe it's time something didn't work out perfectly for you. There it was, the real truth. This wasn't about concern for my well-being. This was about her jealousy and resentment. She wanted to see me fail because she couldn't stand that things were going well for me. I managed to keep my cool and wrapped up the conversation without letting her know I'd recorded everything. We hugged goodbye, and she even had the nerve to say she hoped everything worked out okay with the rumors. That night, I played the recording for my fiancé. He was absolutely furious, but also proud of how I'd handled it. We talked about what to do next, and honestly, part of me wanted to just cut her out completely and move on. But another part of me wanted everyone to know the truth about what she'd done. Update. The wedding day was approaching fast, and I had a decision to make about the recording. What I chose to do next literally changed everything between my sister and our entire family. But first, let me tell you about the most stressful week of my life leading up to the big day. The week before the wedding was absolutely insane. We were dealing with last-minute RSVPs, final dress fittings, and all the usual pre-wedding chaos. But on top of that, I was carrying around this recording that felt like a ticking time bomb in my phone. My fiancé and I went back and forth about what to do. Part of me wanted to confront my sister privately and demand she tell everyone the truth. But honestly, I didn't trust her to actually follow through. She'd already proven she was willing to lie to people's faces. What was to stop her from making up some excuse or just denying she'd ever said those things to me? Meanwhile, the damage was still spreading. My cousin pulled me aside at the rehearsal dinner and asked if I was sure about getting married so quickly. My own grandmother gave me this look of pity and squeezed my hand, saying she'd always love me no matter what. It was heartbreaking to realize how many people had heard these lies and believed them. The rehearsal dinner itself was super awkward. My sister was there playing the perfect sister role, helping arrange flowers and making sure everyone had drinks. She even gave this touching speech about how happy she was for me and how she knew I'd found my perfect match. The whole time, I'm sitting there knowing what she'd really said about my relationship, and it took everything I had not to stand up and call her out right then and there. That night, lying in bed at the hotel, I made my decision. I was going to play the recording at the reception. Not during the ceremony. I didn't want to ruin that sacred moment, but afterward, when everyone was celebrating and in a good mood. I wanted them all to hear the truth about what my sister had done. My maid of honor helped me set it up. We tested the sound system during the cocktail hour and made sure the recording would play clearly through the speakers. I was nervous as heck, but I knew this was the right thing to do. The ceremony itself was absolutely perfect. My sister was in the front row, dabbing her eyes with tissues and looking like the picture of a supportive sibling. My fiancé and I exchanged vows under this beautiful arch of white roses, and for those 30 minutes, I forgot all about the drama and just focused on marrying my best friend. But once we got to the reception, my heart started racing again. We did all the traditional stuff: first dance, cake cutting, toasts from the best man and maid of honor. Everyone was having a great time, laughing and drinking champagne, and the DJ was getting ready to open up the dance floor. That's when I grabbed the microphone. "Hey everyone, can I have your attention for just one more minute?" I said, and the room got quiet. "Before we start dancing, I want to share something with all of you, something that I think you should hear." I could see my sister's face from across the room, and she looked confused but not alarmed. She probably thought I was going to thank everyone for coming or something sweet like that. "Over the past few weeks, some of you have heard rumors about me that weren't very nice," I continued. "Rumors about my faithfulness to my new husband here. I want you all to hear the truth about where those rumors came from." That's when my sister's face went completely white. She knew what was coming. I played the recording, the whole thing. Her voice came through the speakers crystal clear, confessing to making up the cheating story, admitting she'd lied to people, and explaining that she did it because she was jealous that things came easily to me. You could have heard a pin drop in that room. People were looking back and forth between me and my sister, and her face was getting redder by the second. When the recording got to the part where she said maybe it was time something didn't work out perfectly for me, there were actual gasps from the audience. By the time it finished playing, my sister had tears streaming down her face, and half the room was staring at her with their mouths hanging open. The other half was looking at me with this mixture of shock and admiration. "I wanted you all to hear that," I said into the microphone, "because I think you deserve to know the truth, and I wanted my sister to understand that actions have consequences." Then I handed the mic back to the DJ and said, "Okay, now let's party update." What happened immediately after I played that recording was absolutely wild. My sister's reaction, my family's response, and the aftermath that followed literally changed our family dynamics forever. 2 months later, I'm still processing everything that went down that night. The dance floor cleared out real quick after that recording played. People were clustering in little groups, whispering and shooting looks at my sister, who was still sitting at her table looking like she wanted the ground to swallow her up. A few people actually went up to her and said some pretty harsh things. I couldn't hear everything, but I saw my cousin pointing her finger and my aunt shaking her head with disgust. My parents were mortified. Mom came rushing over to me with tears in her eyes, apologizing over and over for not knowing what my sister had been doing. Dad looked like he was about to have a heart attack. They immediately went over to my sister and had this intense whispered conversation that ended with her gathering her purse and leaving early. But here's the thing that really got me. Almost everyone else stayed. After the initial shock wore off, people started coming up to me and my husband to apologize for believing the rumors and to congratulate us on handling it so well. My college roommate said she'd had doubts about the stories from the beginning because they seemed so out of character for me. My work friends said they were impressed by how I documented everything and stood up for myself. The party actually got better after my sister left. It was like this dark cloud had been lifted, and everyone could just relax and have fun. We danced until almost midnight, and it ended up being everything I dreamed of for my wedding reception. The next morning, my phone was blowing up with texts and calls. Some were from people apologizing for doubting me. Others were from family members wanting to know what the heck had happened. My sister tried calling me like 15 times, but I wasn't ready to talk to her yet. My parents came over to our hotel suite before we left for our honeymoon. They were still pretty shaken up about everything, but they made it clear that they supported how I'd handled the situation. "We raised you to stand up for yourself," Dad said. "And that's exactly what you did." Mom was harder to read. I think she was torn between being proud of me for exposing the truth and feeling bad for my sister, who was getting absolutely roasted by everyone in our extended family. But she hugged me tight and said she was sorry she hadn't seen through my sister's lies earlier. We went on our honeymoon to Hawaii, and honestly, it was the perfect way to decompress after all that drama. 2 weeks of beaches, Mai Tais, and not thinking about family nonsense. When we got back, things had definitely shifted in the family dynamic. My sister had been basically excommunicated by our cousins and aunts. Nobody was inviting her to family gatherings, and when they did see her, the conversations were pretty chilly. She'd tried calling everyone to apologize and explain herself, but the damage was done. People had lost trust in her, and it was going to take a lot more than phone calls to fix it. She kept trying to reach out to me through our parents, asking if we could meet and talk things through. For the first month, I wasn't interested. I was still too angry. And honestly, I was enjoying my peaceful life without her drama. But then last week, she showed up at my house. Just rang the doorbell on a Tuesday evening while my husband and I were watching Netflix and eating takeout from our favorite Thai place. I opened the door, and there she was, looking absolutely terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair that hadn't been styled in days, and this desperate look on her face. "Please," she said before I could even speak. "I know you don't want to see me, but I need to talk to you. I've lost everybody, and I can't handle losing you too." Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. But another part of me, the part that remembered growing up together, sharing a room, staying up late talking about boys and dreams, felt sorry for her. I let her in, but I made it clear this wasn't forgiveness. "You have 5 minutes," I told her. "Say whatever you need to say." She broke down completely. Ugly crying, snot, the whole thing. She told me she'd been jealous of me for years, that she felt like she was always in my shadow, and that seeing me get everything she wanted, the perfect relationship, the beautiful wedding, the support of our family, had driven her to do something unforgivable. "I wanted to hurt you," she admitted through her tears. "I wanted you to feel as rejected and worthless as I felt. And I know that's horrible, and I know saying sorry doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I regret it every single day." She begged me to forgive her, to give her another chance, to help her rebuild relationships with our family. She promised she'd go to therapy, that she'd make it up to me however she could, that she'd never do anything like this again. I listened to everything she had to say, and then I told her exactly how I felt. "I appreciate you being honest about your motivations," I said. "But you didn't just hurt me. You tried to destroy my relationship with the person I love most in the world. You lied to our entire family and made them question my character. You turned what should have been the happiest time of my life into a nightmare of doubt and stress." She nodded and kept crying, saying she understood and that she'd do anything to make it right. "Here's the thing," I continued. "I might be able to forgive you someday. Maybe. But I will never forget what you did, and I will never trust you the same way again. If you want any kind of relationship with me moving forward, it's going to be on my terms, with my boundaries." I laid out those boundaries pretty clearly. No more intimate sister relationship where we share personal details about our lives. No more being included in major family events until she'd proven over time that she could be trusted. No more expecting me to defend her to other family members who were still angry about what she'd done. "You burned this bridge," I told her. "If you want to rebuild it, you're going to have to do all the work, and it's going to take years, not months," she agreed to everything, still crying and thanking me for even giving her that much. We hugged briefly before she left, but it felt different. Not like sisters, more like distant relatives being polite. Since then, she's been keeping her distance while also trying to show me she's working on herself. She started therapy, got a new job, and has been reaching out to other family members to apologize and make amends. Some of them are softening toward her, others are still pretty cold. My husband thinks I'm being too generous by even considering a relationship with her again. He's still furious about what she put us through, and he doesn't trust her motives. But I guess part of me hopes that maybe this whole experience taught her something, and maybe years from now we can have some kind of functional relationship again. Right now, though, I'm focusing on my marriage, my career, and the family members who supported me through all this chaos. My life is pretty great without her drama in it, and if she wants back in, she's going to have to prove she deserves it. Looking back on that whole situation, I'm actually proud of how I handled it. I could have just suffered in silence and let Her lies ruined my wedding and my relationships. Instead, I gathered evidence, exposed the truth, and stood up for myself in a way that made it impossible for her to deny what she'd done. Was it harsh to play that recording in front of everyone? Maybe. But she'd already involved all those people by spreading her lies to them. I just made sure they heard the whole story instead of just her version. Some people might think I should just forgive and forget because she's family. But I learned something important through all this. Being related to someone doesn't give them the right to treat you badly, and sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who can hurt you the worst. I'm married to an amazing man who stood by me through all of this drama. I have a family who, when they learned the truth, rallied around me and supported me completely. And I have friends who never doubted my character even when they were hearing terrible things about me. As for my sister, she's working on becoming a better person, and I genuinely hope she succeeds. But whether or not I'm part of her journey toward redemption is still up in the air. Some things can't be unsaid, and some trust once broken is nearly impossible to rebuild. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I've got my happy ending, and I earned it by standing up for myself when it mattered most.